everybody. I'm Kira. I'm the Communications Director at Silver Brush Limited. I know you're used to seeing Warren introducing Miss D. Silver, but I'm taking a hand at it today. Today, Dee will be talking about a variety of our mop brushes and our quills, and giving you a few brush care tips and letting you know what's going on with these. We're also hosting a giveaway, which we will be doing at all of our lives. Today we're giving away this set of mop brushes. It's got 4 brushes in it, and Dee is going to tell you a little bit about them here today. So without further ado, Miss Dee Silver, owner and founder of Silver Brush Limited.
Hi everybody, how are you? I hope you're all doing well, wearing masks when you go out, and everybody's safe and healthy. So today I've been tasked to talk about mops, and we have a wonderful array of mops within our brush line. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the different types that there are, the 3 or 4 that we have in our line, and what makes what makes a mop better than others that are out there. So let's first begin with these 2. These are, as you can see, this is an oval and this is a round brush. Maybe we can bring that camera a little bit closer so that folks can get a little bit better view of that. There you are. We've got, this is the oval and this is the round. We also have it white in round, and we have the black in oval as well. So I'm going to show you how to fix this mop here, because look at that. The hair's going all over the place, and what a pain in the neck, isn't it? So it happens to everybody. It really does. So what's the difference between the white and the black goat hair? Well, the white hair is always going to be soft and fluffy. The black goat hair, when it gets wet, it's going to be a little stiffer. We find that oil painters prefer the black goat hair because this way it takes a little bit of that gloss off of some of the images that are on the paintings. If you're doing a portrait and you've got a face and you've got the gloss from the wonderful oil color you're using, you want to get that gloss off. And this is the brush that'll get that gloss off the face. But what's also important is that it's soft enough that it's not going to be overbearing to the paint. You can also use this, of course, for blending watercolors and for blending acrylics, whatever it is that you're doing with it. This is a natural hair. What does that mean? It means it can go in watercolor, it can go in acrylic, it can go in oil color. That's what natural hair means. So that it's just that durable. What makes ours better than everyone else is that it's 100% pure goat hair. They're shaved about once a year, and that's the hair that we use. Very, very soft, very pliable. Very, very important that you know that. So let's take this goat hair. We're almost here at my boiling hot water. You've seen me use the boiling hot water method before. And let's give this a couple more minutes. So the hair's going all over the place. You have other brushes where hair is going all over the place. What an annoyance that is. We're going to fix that up in just a few minutes. We'll wait until the water heats up. We also have 100% goat hair fan. Now, why this is important is for folks who like to paint and blend very small surfaces. So if you're working on someone's face and you want to work under the eye, this is a perfect brush to work under the eye. You're going to be able to blend with it, you're going to be able to smooth out the paint, and you're going to be able to get those creases out of the paint. And this is the only brush that's out there that's 100% soft white goat hair, and it's going to be able to get that beautiful blending. But before we start using our brushes, especially our goat hair brushes, as you know, they're very, very soft. So we try to capture the hair within the ferrule with glue as well as crimping whenever they're being made. But invariably there's going to be a loose hair, especially with goat hair. So what you have to do initially, and we've done this before, is we're going to knife this brush. And we're going to take out any loose hair that is in there. This way you won't have the annoying hair coming off in the painting. So I'm going to knife this, I'm going to knife this one as well. And it's a very easy matter to do this. You can do this with all the brushes that you have. So I'm using a little black, this is black, it doesn't matter what the color is, but I'm using the back of the butter knife. Notice how flat that is. It's a very flat back. And so we don't want to cut the hair, we just want to take the loose hairs out. And that's what's important for you to do. So that we're lucky nothing is coming out of these brushes. And just a little bit more over here. And now we can go and start working with the brushes. I'm sure you all guys are artists and you know much better than I do what to do with these brushes, but we do know that they're absolutely superior for blending color throughout a painting. Well, now we've got some rolling boil here. You see that's a great pot that is see-through, and you can see the boiling hot water there. Take boiling hot water, which is what you always need to resurface a resize it, and dip it in. Just dip it in, and you'll see the brush of hair will relax, and you'll be able to start using that brush all over again. There's nothing wrong with this brush. It's just a matter of getting it into the hot water and letting it relax the hair and putting it right back into its original shape. This will dry and it'll come out just like this one, and then we go right back again and painting. So what do I have here today? So I thought I'd experiment with you and show you different paint and different things with the watercolor brushes that you can do with it.
I have a question actually about just that.
Go ahead.
What's the difference between brushes for watercolor versus brushes for acrylic?
If it's the goat hair brushes, you can use them for any medium. The only thing that's really important is to remember that once you use something in oil color, because you're using a solvent, an odorless solvent that you get at the art supply store to clean up, you want to keep it in the oil color. At least I always think that's the best advice. Then if you're using it in acrylics or you're using it in watercolor, that's fine. You can definitely do that. Nothing will happen to that brush. But these actually are the same exact filaments for oil, acrylic, or watercolor.
Now, does that same technique work with a brush that's a blend of natural and synthetic hairs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can absolutely put, so this is, what do I have that's a blend here? Actually, I have no blends right here, but I do have a blend right here. And you're talking about if it's out of the hairs all over the place and it's a problem. Just put it in the boiling water, and you'll see it'll relax it and bring it right back to its original shape. Let it dry, and you can go right back to painting with it. There's nothing wrong with the brush. And so, we're going to continue talking about goat hair because it's such a versatile brush, and you'll be able to do so many things with it. So, this is, as I said, this is a white goat hair. I'm going to get a little bit of water. Actually, I should be using this water over here. This is a little colder. And I'm going to just, so what do I have here? I have acrylic. This is heavy-bodied acrylic. I have fluid acrylic. I have flow acrylic, which is very, 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 very messy. See? And I have gouache, and I have watercolor. So I'm just going to dab some watercolor on this, and let's see what we can get with that. Look at that beautiful color. But notice that we can get a very light brush on there. So, as I said, I'm not an artist, but you know what I've seen so many folks do is make beautiful, beautiful clouds with these brushes. They put finishing touch over something else with these brushes. Whether you're working indoors or outdoors, this is just a wonderful brush that's going to hold so much color, and it's going to keep on painting. Okay, so I'm going to clean that up over there, and we'll move on to something else. So that's the white goat hair. As I said, black goat hair gets stiffer when it's wet. So that means that you'll be able to take the color off of the top, and you'll get that gloss off. Now, it's not fun dealing with that, but it's not a bad problem. Look at that. We've smoothed it down. Notice you've got that nice blending. Let's see, can you see that? You can see that I've blended in the strokes with this little black goat hair mop from Silver Brush Limited.
And you're doing that with a dry brush, right?
This is actually a dry brush. Yes, it is. I didn't want to get any more water. I got a little bit of water over here, and that's fine. But I really wanted to brush off what was on here so that folks can see that you can get that nice overall look. So if you don't want strokes and you want to blend it in, that's the wonder of mop brushes. Isn't that great? I love that. Okay, let's move on because we don't have that much time, but I am ready for questions, whatever you have.
Okay, so Patricia Bianca Flores. Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Bianca.
Hi.
She's one of our new Silver Brush educators. She's in the Philippines.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's after midnight over there.
Sorry.
So let's see who else. Yes, Bianca, regardless of hair type, this hot water method will work for straightening out your brush hairs.
Yes, it will.
Let's see, any other questions? We have Carol saying hi from up there. We have Victoria from the UK says hello.
Hi, Victoria. How you doing? Hi, Carol.
This is so great. Thank you for everybody's comments. We really appreciate you joining in and
bet.
interacting with us. It makes these live events even that much better when you ask us questions and interact, and we can really make this tailored to exactly what you want to know about the brushes.
So this is 100% goat hair. This is a hockey brush. Well, I have our other hockey brushes here. But you can use this in encaustics. You can use this, of course, for watercolor, for acrylics, for oils. I right now am using acrylic. This is an acrylic color, which you can see is just a beautiful, beautiful color. Notice how nicely I can get to smooth this out. It does a beautiful job. Now, I'm not going to be able to get detail painting with this because it's not that kind of brush, and it just won't do that. But look at the blending that you can get with it. So whether you want to use it for background blending or front blending, whatever you want to do, this is a wonderful brush for you. This is our hockey. This is one of our hockey brushes. We have multiple hockey brushes, and this is just a wonderful little brush. The item number on that's the 5514, and it's an alpine white. And look at that. You can get beautiful, beautiful detail and overall blending on that. And then I'm going to take our little black mop brush, and I want to blend that in. I don't want to have those strokes in there. I want to get those strokes out of there. Look what I'm doing. I can get it out that easily. Look at that. It took 2 seconds, just seconds. And the nice thing about a really big mop is that it covers so much surface so quickly. Look at
I
that.
have a good question that's come up in a couple of different forms here.
Sure.
Basically beginners. People saying, what's the best brush for a beginner? Or, gee, it's overwhelming. There's so many different brushes.
I know, there are. You're right. There are a lot of different brushes. Yeah.
So maybe talk about that and how a beginner should get started. So maybe specifically about watercolor here in this case. And
Okay,
acrylics
well,
as well.
what we're talking specifically today, I was tasked to talk about goat hair brushes, but we can talk about how to begin. I would actually start with a smaller goat hair brush if it were me, and I'm a beginner too. I'm not an artist. I would definitely start with a smaller brush because I think it's just easy to work and manipulate a smaller brush. And you could start saying, okay, I'm going to go into this little section over here, and I want to get that little section colored in. So I think it's always easier to start with a smaller brush and then start playing around with it. Remember, this a silver brush is going to come back to its original shape, and it's going to keep on working. If you keep it clean, make sure you clean it after your session, and we're going to show you that in a minute. But you'll be able to continue playing with it. And what makes this better is that it's going to give you an opportunity to play with it, and then what you'll be able to do is come back and say, I like that stroke, I don't like that stroke, I want to do something different. Get practice paper. That's something that you can try and do. Get some practice paper. Get some very inexpensive watercolor paper. You need something that's absorbent, especially when you're working with watercolors. You can't just use a kid's regular paper. You really need something that's absorbent. That's why I'm using this. But there are all kinds of different quality of 140-pound cold press, which is very absorbent. That's a watercolor paper, and you can find it at your local art supply store. There's lots of art supply stores that are open today, and they have different price points. Get something to practice on. You don't need the biggest pad at all, but you do need to get something to practice on, get some paint, and see what kind of strokes you want to make with it. So I do recommend that you start with a smaller size brush versus a bigger size, and then you can graduate as you feel more confident. in the different styles that you're painting. Okay?
Okay, so we have another question. What's the difference in the absorbency of goat hair compared to squirrel? So, these goat hair brushes compared to something like black velvet.
That is a wonderful question. And, well, I guess price is one thing. No, I'm kidding. Nothing's going to be more absorbent than squirrel hair. It really isn't. It's just the nature of the beast. It really is. So the long point that you're going to be able to get with black velvet, you're going to be able to do detail as well as any kind of stroke that you want to do for a very long period of time with black velvet. You will not be able to get this kind of detail with a mop brush. Notice what I was doing. I was putting it all over the place and I was getting big broad strokes. You're not going to be able to get this kind of detail as you will with black velvet. That was a very, very good question, and it's good to always compare something to something else. But I have to tell you something. We have a wonderful brush that we're reintroducing that is exceptional. It's an exceptional value, it's an exceptional quality, and it might work very, very well for those of you that don't want to spend so much money on a brush like you will with black velvet. This is our Golden Natural series. We're very, very proud of it. We're reintroducing it. It is a blend of synthetic fiber, golden Taklon, but it also has a lot of animal hair in it. It's 43% less expensive than black velvet, and it's very, very absorbent. I'm going to use some Flow acrylics right here, which you can use, and you're going to see. Look how absorbent that is. Look how much color it holds. It's an exceptional brush. Absolutely wonderful quality. Oh my goodness, look at that. Good old Flow. Woo! Look at that. Still on the same original dip. Look at that. I love that. Golden Natural is a very unique filament, and for those of you that feel that you may not want to spend $20 or $25, but you're okay with 10 or 15, you do try Golden Natural. It's a great treat. It truly is, and you won't make a mistake. This is a new shape. This is called our Ultra Round, and this is a nice extra long round brush. You see how we're going all over the place? I had planned on only speaking about mops today, but now we're moving into some other areas. This is a new shape. This is the Ultra Round, and it has that nice long point, so that if you're painting flowers, if you're painting tendrils, if you're painting like little details on any kind of painting, including furniture or whatever you're doing, this is just an awesome brush for that. Notice that nice long tip on there. So, no, you won't be able to hold the detail that you can in Golden Natural as well as black velvet, but that's not the function of a mop brush. The function of a mop brush is to get an overall look and to blend out the color. So you're doing detail like this, and maybe what you want to do, let me see, where's my little mop? Maybe what we want to do is blend some color in that. Let's get some water, and let's move some color over here. Always scary for me to deal with fluid acrylics because I love to wear it on my clothing and my elbows. Now see that? I'm just getting a very light overwash on that. Remember, I'm not an artist, but that's the kind of thing that you can do with a good mop brush. And notice those beautiful, beautiful strokes that I'm able to get with that. See that? Okay, any other questions?
What size Golden Natural were you just using, the Ultra Round?
That is going to be a large size. That's either the 12 or the 16. That's a pretty large size. So it's it's a pretty large one. I have them smaller also. We have them smaller. They start. We also have that in a Ultra Mini.
Questions.
Yeah,
A ton of
we have
questions?
a ton of questions.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
so one question was just asking about this brush, the Alpine White. They just wanted to know what that is. What's the white
Okay,
brush on the side?
this is our Alpine White. It's 100% goat hair. This was our original hockey brush. This is a nickel-plated brass ferrule. Notice the staples that hold the ferrule onto the handle. Makes it very strong and sturdy. Also, of course, epoxy barrier here and crimping. So of all the brushes that are out there that are similar, this is going to be a better quality. It's going to last longer because of all that manufacturing pros that we do for it.
Another question was,
Sure.
what's the difference between a flat brush and a hockey brush?
A flat brush and a hockey brush. Well, this you would describe as a hockey brush.
Well, it was separate questions.
Okay, a flat brush. Okay, what makes the difference between a flat and a bright? That's the most common questions that are asked. Let's see, do we have any? Yes, we do. Okay, so this is a flat and this is a bright. Let's look at that very closely. All right? So the bright is a shorter length out. The flat is a longer length out. This is a wonderful brush. Both of them are wonderful brushes for landscape painters. Have that mountains and hills and dales and everything else. So that's the difference between a flat and a bright brush. It's a longer length out. Okay.
All right, so another question was, what's the best brush for detailing?
There's lots of detail. So there's detail in the painting. There's detail for signature. Let's look at some signature brushes. So this is, that's a great detail brush, Kara. Thank you very much. This is a great detail brush. This is our Ultra Mini teardrop brush. See that? Look at that head. Isn't that fun? Look at that. What I love so much about this particular brush is that you can take this detail brush, and there's lots of them, and you could see very, very small surface. Look at that small little surface that I can paint in, and I can see the entire surface. So if you're painting on some of these small little cards, they like to do these ACT cards, they like to paint on rice and eggs and all those other stuff. Ultra Mini is probably the best brush in the world for you, and that's where you get the most detail. But what happens if you're painting at your easel and you want to sign your name? Well, you need a liner for that. And Silver Brush has an entire series of liners with long handles. Of course, we use long handles when we're standing at an easel. So here's a long liner, and I'm going to attempt to use some fluid acrylic and sign something. There you go. What is really nice is that it doesn't hold as much paint, and you can do your name. And there you go.
All right, now, separate question. How do I know how to choose which brush for which medium?
Okay. It's really important. That's a really good question, and that's something that comes up all the time, even with store owners and professional artists. That's a great question. It's very important to remember that if you're using a natural hair brush, whether it's goat hair, hog bristle, red sable, blended brushes, you can use oil, put it in oil color. I always recommend that you buy odorless solvent at an art supply store, because they're the folks that have a really good solvent to getting the paint out of the container, out of the brush. What is important here is that you don't damage the brush. That's the most important thing. So if you're using this brush, say you're using this goat hair brush for oil color, you're going to have to clean it out very well. So use an odorless solvent. I never recommend turpentine because I think it's really bad for the environment as well as you. And I also don't recommend you buying any kind of solvent at all in big box stores, big hardware box stores, because it's very, very harsh. And if there's any synthetic fiber in the brush whatsoever, like there is in this golden Taklon in this, it will melt the filament. That's what turpentine does. It melts the filament on synthetic fiber. So I always recommend that you use odorless solvent when you're cleaning out oil color. Now, suppose you're using, so many different water-based paints. Today I'm using, and I can see now why I got the paint all over. Today I'm using heavy-bodied acrylics. This is fluid acrylics. This is flow acrylic. This is gouache, and this is watercolor. These are all water-based. What we want to do is you can use that and just use a really good soap and water to clean it up.
More great questions. Do you sell in Asia?
We do. We sell all over Asia. How about that? We sell in the Philippines. We sell in Singapore. We sell in Malaysia. We sell in China. Yes, we sell all over.
Indonesia, South
Indonesia,
Korea,
South
China,
Korea.
yes.
Yes, so we do sell all over Asia. We sell in India as well. So go online and find out where the folks are that near you. And we do sell all over Asia. Yes, thank you
Is
for
Golden
asking.
Natural available for sale now?
Absolutely, it's in. We've been shipping all over the world, and it is fantastic. I love this brush. I
Right.
really do.
Another question, a little off topic here, but a woman's an oil painter,
Okay.
and she says the problem is after one use, one painting, her brushes are basically ruined, and she can't use the brushes on the next painting.
So here's the issue that we come up against. It's the surface you're painting on. It can be the brush that it's wearing down, but it's also the surface you're painting on. I want you to take your hand and rub it over the surface. If it feels very pebbly, if it feels very rough, you're painting on bricks, basically. So that's going to wear down your brushes very, very easily. What I want you to do is sand it down. What I want you to do is put some gesso on it. There's some great ground gessos out there. There really are. Smooth it down. You're actually creating an environment that you're wearing your own brushes down. Take the surface and make it as smooth as you possibly can. As smooth as you make it, your brushes will last many paintings. They really will. They will wear after a while, of course they will. But if you feel that surface, I find that there's a lot of canvas that are coming in today that they say it's triple coated and all this other stuff, and I run my hand over it and it feels like sandpaper to me, or it feels like a brick. It's very, very excuse me, it's very, very pebbly. That is never good for a brush. That's what wears down a brush. In our case, our brushes are the longest lasting, and that we try everything in our power to make sure that you get your bang for your buck. We really do. But you do have to take care of them too. You have to understand what is it you're painting on. Now I'm painting on a very, very nice smooth paper that is 140-pound cold press. Not the best paper in the world. I have other much better paper, but this is very, very smooth, and it won't wear down the brush as much as canvas will. Feel the canvas. If it's pebbly, and even if it's not, give it a coat of gesso. That way you'll smooth it out. All right? Your brushes will last 3 times longer, I promise.
All right, so we've had a ton of questions today about oil painting. So
Okay.
I think what we should do is let's promise that in 2 weeks we'll do oil painting for the next Facebook Live, because
Okay.
we're not set up for oils today. But we did have some other questions.
Sure.
What's the best brush for painting portraits?
Well,
So maybe that's the order.
anybody that knows us knows that the most famous oil painters in the world and portrait painters use our brushes, and we're very proud of that. Maybe Warren can find some of the portraits over there. Most of the time, I find portrait painters love the filbert shape. That seems to be their go-to shape, and well, I'll just show you some of the portraits that have been done with silver brush. Let's hold that up close. I'm sure you'll recognize this beautiful woman. That's Princess Diana. That was painted by Nelson Shanks back in 1992, I believe.
And which brushes did you use?
Nelson uses our Grand Prix long filberts and extra long filberts, as well as our traditional length out filberts. He also used our Renaissance cat's tongue red sable brushes. I also gave him as a present, well, a while ago, of course, he also loved to paint with our silver white. He used to say that the silver white, even though he used it in oil color, even though I told him not to use turpentine, he did, but he also loved the filbert in the silver white because he loved the edge. He called it his favorite edge brush. All right? We're just showing you some of the other things that have been done with silver brush, and I'm sure you recognize this person. This is another portrait that's been done with our brushes, also by Nelson, and this was done with extra long filberts, traditional filberts, Renaissance cat's tongues, and rounds. This is in the Vatican collection. I'm sure we recognize this fellow. Also, this is former President George W. Bush. This was painted by John Howard Sandin. John Sandin also uses our Grand Prix and Renaissance red sable brushes. We do sets for these folks. We do very large portraits sets for them. Here's a beautiful one. This is the first female Speaker of the House in the state of Ohio. Her name is Joanne Davidson. She is painted by a young award-winning artist. Her name is Leslie Adams, and she uses Renaissance rounds, flats, and cat's tongues, and then a Grand Prix extra long filberts. So we have quite a bit to talk about in terms of portraiture, and we find that filberts are the most versatile and most used in portrait painting.
All right. Another question is, what's the best brush for gouache?
Gouache. Anything that's for water base. Here's gouache right over here. That's what this is right here. And I'll demonstrate that for you because I happen to have gouache brushes, gouache paint right here. This is the full round. We call it a designer round in the Ultra Mini series. Here's gouache. Gouache is very interesting because basically what gouache is a opaque watercolor. And notice how beautifully that responds to that. This is a very, very fine gouache. Got this at Jerry's Artorama. By the way, here in the United States, lots of art supply stores are opening up again, and they're waiting for you to come right in. I tried using very inexpensive paint, and I was so disappointed. I said, you know what, I'd rather have less colors and spend a little bit more on the paint and have something that actually works. Buying inexpensive paint, buying inexpensive brushes, it really just doesn't pay. It really doesn't. It's so much more difficult to deal with it. And hair comes out, the hair goes all over the place, the color doesn't cover. Treat yourself to something really, really good at a fine art supply store. Buy less, but have something really a lot better. I always say my husband convinced me a very long time ago to get the very best pruning shears at the garden supply store. So I went back and I replaced the real cheap ones that I had, and I bought the most expensive one. I think at the time it was $3.99. You know, I still have those pruning shears. That's what happens when you buy a really good tool. It's a little bit more, it might be $1, it might be 50 cents, it might even be a few dollars more. But then you're going to have it last a very, very long time. And that's always pays off. It really does, in all your materials. And I find we gals tend to be a lot more thrifty than men, and we tend to, you know, spend a lot less. We want to get our coupons and save our money. But in this case, buying a really good artist brush, there's nothing like the painting experience. And you'll paint once, and you'll say, oh, that was so much fun. I want to do that again. And you'll come back to it again. And you know, it's just the most soothing, wonderful experience, and it's just a great hobby. It really is. And if you do it professionally, even better.
So we've got a few more questions.
Sure.
Do we have any smaller mop brushes that would be ideal for smaller paintings or smaller kinds of details?
Look what I'm going to show you. We've got our wonderful goat hair, I call them mini mops, but they're a little goat hair mop in our Silver Silk series. This is 100% goat hair too. Look at those little teeny guys. That size is 1/4 inch over there, and that is 3/8 inch. And we're waiting for the 1/8 and the 1/2 to come in. It's on its way to us right now. Look at those little teeny mops. So much smaller than our traditional mops. Look at the difference. So you're asking, do we have them? We sure do. And that is a marvelous, it's just a wonderful quality. It's going to be long lasting, but you're going to get those little mop shapes that you like to do. Let's make that a little wet.
So another question was, how do you erase color? Once you've put it down, how do you lift it back up? Can you use a mop brush for that?
Yes, you can use a mop brush. The one thing about a good watercolor brush, you can take it and you can actually wash it. You can actually, if this was a good, really good quality watercolor brush, watercolor paper, you can actually take it out and put it in the tub and actually wash it down, and most of the colors will come off. But if you want to keep the color on there, or just work like this, let's see what I can do. See if I can get some of that color off of there. Not right now. No. And this is acrylic. This really isn't watercolor. This is acrylic. Let's see, over here. What have I got? I got color every place. Here we go. And here it is. It's coming off right there. And that is, well, this is a flow acrylic. This is not even watercolor. Let's try and take off watercolor. It's a little bit tricky. You know, you can use a sponge. You know, I've seen artists who go like this, in my dirty water, and pull color out, depending on how much they want to get out, and go like that. Getting some of the color out, like that. All right. Any other questions?
We have Sarah Ramirez saying hello from Mexico.
Oh, hi. How are you? Nice to see you.
Maureen Seba is here. She's one of our Silver Brush educators.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Maureen. How you doing?
Everybody says that they're loving the community questions, so keep your questions coming. We love the questions you're asking us. It's really helping fuel our demonstration here.
It always is. Now I want to just show this to you. I showed this to you earlier. We had hair flying all over the place. Notice I put it in boiling hot water. The hair stayed together beautifully. It's going to dry and fluff up, and it's going to be a perfect brush all over again, and you'll be able to do some of that nice strokes that you like to do. All right? And so let me move on. I've got some other brushes I wanted to show you today with some more fun. These are our quills. So we have extraordinary quills. We have 3 different kinds. Make fun of myself. So we have 100% golden taklon. That's 100% golden taklon, and of course that's going to be the least expensive. And then we have 100% white goat hair quill. You see that? That's going to be a natural hair, and you'll be able to put this in oil color because it is a natural hair. Just make sure that you only clean it up in an odorless solvent. And this is a blend. This is a blend of squirrel and synthetic fiber. Not the quality that black velvet is, but a very, very nice quality. What this is a very thirsty brush. These are very, very thirsty. So if you want a brush that's going to hold a lot of color, and let me tell you, you really have to know. I think maybe I'd probably be better off dealing with something a lot smaller like this one. This is a lot for me to really control. But I'm going to put this in watercolor, and you'll see it's a very, very thirsty brush, and we're just going to hold. Look at all that color. Woo! Look at all that color coming out. And so if you're working in a section and you need to put down a lot of color, and you want to move it all over, this is just a wonderful brush for that. But keep in mind, the larger the brush, the more color it's going to hold, and you're going to be able to get it all out. The one thing that's a little bit difficult, that I find difficult, is the larger the brush is, the less control you have. So you really have to have the ability to put it down and move it all over the place. But if you want detail, this thirsty little quill, this is the blend also, that's the Silver Brush blended quill. And that too is going to hold a lot of color. Now I'm just putting that in flow acrylic, and that, look how beautiful that comes out. It's going to hold a lot of color. It's very thirsty. It's a very thirsty little brush. You'll be able to put down a lot of color in a very small area.
And there's a question, can a quill replace a mop? What's the difference in quills and
Well,
mops?
you can get more technique with a quill, whereas mop is really an overall. You really can't get a lot of technique with a mop, but you can with a quill. You can get some direct direction on it, whereas I don't believe you can with a quill, with a mop.
What size is that small quill you're using?
This is a 20. We also make them all the way down to a little teeny size called a 00. So I feel more comfortable with the smaller sizes. Of course, everybody is different, but for me, I just have difficulty controlling a very, very large brush. So that's personal preference, and you'll see how you feel. And here's a mop, and you see you get an overall feel with the mop. You really should be working this a lot drier.
What's the right way to let a brush dry after you've been painting?
So the most important thing you have to do is wash the brush out very thoroughly. Like that. You're going to wash the brush out very thoroughly. And the single most important thing that you can do, you turn around and just hand me the ashtray for a minute. The most important thing that you can do is try and allow the brush head to dry down. So here's a little ashtray, and here's a brush. I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to let the moisture flow down. You see that? I'm going to let the moisture flow out of the brush. And that's so that the moisture doesn't go into the ferrule. Now, how many of you have had the problem where the paint goes in the ferrule, and you're saying to yourself, this is really a big pain in the neck. I can't use this now because there's paint in the ferrule, and the hair is going all over the place. Well, that's the problem when you let a brush dry this way. You're actually letting the paint go in there. The best way I know of, and I have never seen it any better, to clean that out, again, go back to the boiling hot water. This is not as hot as it was, but you'll start to melt the paint that's in the ferrule. Pull it out. This is a lint-free towel, and you'll see the paint will start to melt. Make sure it's a very, very hot, boiling hot water, rolling boiling hot water. But the best way to let it dry is make sure the head's down.
So what's the name of these brushes?
This is a quill. This is the Silver Brush Limited Quills.
From the Atelier
This
series.
is from the Atelier Studio series. I put this in the line about 4 or 5 years ago, and people really seem to love it a great deal. It's a better quill that's on the market that's out there, but I'm going to tell you an interesting story. This is the oldest shape brush in the history of art supplies. If you look at paintings by Raphael, Rubens, any of them, you're always going to see brushes that this shape. They used to take go down to the tanner and say they needed a brush, and the tanner would make this out of, turkey bones, chicken bones, meat bones, whatever it was. They would take the hair of any animal that was walking in the shop, and they would make a brush for the artists with that. So sometimes they had, hog bristle, sometimes they had rabbit, sometimes they had all kinds of different hair. But today these are, of course, produced in a factory where we can get synthetic fiber, we can get natural hair as well, and it's a whole different story. But this is a very old shape that I get a kick out of telling, because years ago I went to the Hermitage Museum in outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and President Jackson's wife was an artist, and she had her art supplies displayed, and we saw these bones and how she made all of her artist brushes. So that was a lot of fun. Go ahead.
Will the hot water ruin the glue that's in the ferrule?
No, it won't, because you're not going to keep it in there. You're going to do it very quickly. Good question. You're going to dip it and take it out. Dip it and take it out. That's all you're doing. You're not stirring soup. You're not leaving the soup ladle in there. You're going to take it out very quickly. You're going to clean the brush. And look at that. Look at the paint that's still coming out. And I already cleaned that. Notice how more paint is coming out. It's just amazing. But you have to do it as quickly as I just did it. You don't really want to keep it in there for a very long period of time. I would be concerned if you left it in there. I'd be concerned because you might have a lot of water on the handle, and we sure don't want that, do we? So the most important thing we need to do is make sure that the brush head is drying down. It's drying down, and it's not staying wet inside the ferrule. We're always trying to protect what's going on inside the ferrule, because you don't want the moisture to go through the barriers and get to the handle. Once it gets to the handle, it's going to crack the paint. So we always try and protect that. And one of the best ways to do that is by letting the dry head down. Okay? All right. So we've got, we've done the goat hair mops. Warren was nice enough to bring in one of our angle hockey brushes. And I'd like to show that to you. This is a great brush. What I love about this, it's for any height person. So if you are, like my aunt, I have an aunt who's 4'6". She's 100 years old, and she's 4'6", maybe less. And if she were holding this, she would have to hold it, you know, all the way at the end, but she would want to get it up there. She would want to see how you can do it on the wall. So the great thing about this is the angle to it. You see that? And you were able to paint on the surface at any height. So that's the great thing about this. But what also is nice about this is that how comfortable it is in your hand. So this is 100% goat hair, and you could use this for any kind of water-based paint. But we also noticed that there's a lot of folks who paint with encaustics with these. So they like to put that on the plate, and nothing's going to happen to the hair. It's not going to be damaged. All right? Go ahead.
So is there anything else that you want to add? Do you think we should conclude our Facebook Live today?
Well, if there's no more questions, I'm always ready for answers, and I'd be happy to answer anything you have. I believe the next time we're going to be doing some unique shapes on the Facebook Live. We're going to be showing you some angles, some fans, liners. We've got all kinds of different ones, grass combs. We also have our triangle, and we're going to be doing some very unusual shapes. And Warren, do you have another question?
No, I think we can wrap it up. I just
Okay.
wanted to say before we say who the winner is, we should say the next Facebook Live we'll do
Is
August 12th.
August
Same
12th,
time, 12 Eastern.
12 Eastern.
And we'll focus on oil painting there, portraits and how to work with oils.
Okay.
We won't do a portrait ourselves, we'll just show the brushes.
No, we're going to try and keep it off our clothing also. That's going to be my favorite part, as it is I'm wearing paint today. Okay. And now we're going to have our drawing. How are we going to do that?
Kira's going to announce the winner.
So this is a wonderful set of goat hair brushes. I love this set. It's four of those goat hair brushes that I was showing you. White goat hair as well as black goat hair. You have round as well as the oval. It's a great set. I think what's the retail price on this? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, the retail price is, I think it's
75.
someplace in there, and it's just it's a treat if you win it, and I hope you do.
So the winner of this set is Stephen Tijo.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I said your last name wrong. Please send us a direct message on our Facebook page, and we'll get your information to send this out to you. All right?
Congratulations, Stephen.
Remember to join us again August 12th
At 12 o'clock
at
Eastern
12 o'clock
Time.
Eastern. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming today. I love seeing you.